Hello beings, welcome to the Flamino Experience. My name is Flamino, and today I'm going to show you how the Flamino Experience was, spending 24 hours listening to metal. Be nice to me, leave a like on this video because it's going to be a cool video, and comment Pocahontas to make sense here on the channel, right? Well, some time ago I made a video spending 24 hours listening to K-pop. It was a video that got a lot of hate because I didn't know the K-pop groups. And it turned out that I didn't speak very well about BTS. The difference between the K-pop video and this video is that with K-pop I didn't know anything, so it was totally from scratch for me. And when it comes to metal, I already know a thing or two. My dad influenced me a lot, you know? My dad was a true old school rocker from the 80s, but I never really dedicated myself to listening to it. Like, all the niches and everything, it was that thing, more like this is what I like, the classics and all that. So I ended up never getting to know all the branches of metal, and that's why Ian the metal guy is here to help me, right? Well, we're here now, I'm with the metal guy. I'm going to leave the audio here for him. He's going to explain how my journey into metal is going to be.
Well, Douglas Flamino is already initiated into metal, but he doesn't know it that deeply. And he's going to have this experience by spending 24 hours listening to metal, something I've always wanted to do. And then I'm going to bring in chronological order all the metal styles, all the ones I could remember, which are many, but the main ones and the main bands of each style. And a brief explanation of what happened and what took place. And let's start with the 70s, which is the proto-metal scene, which includes Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Led Zeppelin. If you want, you can show something from psychedelic rock, which gave rise to these bands.
And then
from there, we'll get started. The first real metal bands, real metal, they say the very first was Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Rainbow, which were still in the 70s.
But they were already laying the foundation for the 80s.
Man, so I don't know if it's here in 69, I think we're going to show at least two origins. Before that proto-metal scene, there was the psychedelic rock scene. Back then it was kind of hippie and all, which is what gave rise to the proto-metal scene, which is what gave rise to heavy metal.
Let's go.
The name of this band is Bertha, and the song is Free Spirit. Man, it's like some hippie girls playing a sound that's kind of Black Sabbath and kind of blues. It's really crazy.
Let's listen.
I always recommend this band in my psychedelic rock video because I think they're really crazy. I featured them in it.
Well, the first band here was really good, totally approved. The girl's voice is awesome, the instrumental is awesome, and it really has that 70s style, right? I compared her a lot to Janis Joplin, her drive is really similar, I liked it. Next.
Okay, I'm going to show the Beatles song Helter Skelter, right? The Beatles also, in the second half of the 60s, are considered psychedelic rock.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, of course, like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, all that stuff from Sgt. Pepper and so on, this song. It's considered the first heavy metal song that Paul said he made, because he heard that The Who made the heaviest, loudest song in the world. He said, oh, I want to do that, you know?
Then they took it.
Let's make our loudest song, and then they say that this song was one of the songs that created heavy metal. It's called Helter Skelter.
Never heard it. It's a real B-side from the Beatles.
Man, among metalheads it's an A-side, but among fans... Beatles, yeah, Beatles fans are really into the Beatles, right?
But still.
For most Beatles fans, it's more like a B-side. Black Sabbath, the first official heavy metal band, right?
And why is it official?
All metalheads agree that it's heavy metal. It's like we have our, I don't know, metal president or something who declared, no, Black Sabbath is heavy metal, period.
Alright.
I don't know why, we just know it's metal. We just listen and go, no, this is heavy metal, you know?
Wow, so let's go. I've listened to Black Sabbath a lot too. But let's see what he's going to choose to show.
Man, I think it's important, even though it's really well known, to show at least the song Black Sabbath.
Yes, slightly funereal because...
Man, those guys opened the album with this song back in 70, you know? And there was nothing else like what I just showed, there was nothing heavier than that. Man, out of nowhere they dropped this, right? So this song has several interesting little factors that are good to bring up in general about Black Sabbath. What made Tony Iommi come up with these power chord riffs, right? He had to learn a way to play riffs with 2 fingers because he lost them on his last day of work. He was going to quit his job to work only with music. While working literally with heavy metal at a metal factory, he lost 2 fingers. He learned to play chords with 2 fingers, which led to these heavy chords. Another interesting thing is that Geezer Butler, the band's bassist who wrote the lyrics, was an occultist, but he came from a Christian family. Then he had sleep paralysis. He literally saw the devil on his bed saying, "Man, either you join me or you stop with this crap. You know, like, man, you can't stay in the middle of the road." His whole apartment was painted black and all that. So the song's lyrics talk about that. He chose not to sell his soul to the devil, right? So not all rockers actually sell their soul to the devil, do they? Well, another thing is that they used to rehearse next to a movie theater, and the guys looked and thought like, "Man, why isn't there horror music?" Because when there's a horror movie, the line goes around the block, right? People love to pay to get scared. Why don't we make music that terrifies people, you know? And then this song brought all those ideas together.
We're having lunch here now, so far the experience has been really cool. I saw a lot of Black Sabbath stuff that I had never seen before, things that don't even look like Black Sabbath. He knows a lot about Black Sabbath because it's one of his favorite parts of metal, and it was really cool to learn a lot about Black Sabbath.
We're going to listen now. Vanusa, who is a Brazilian singer, has a song that people say influenced Black Sabbath. Vanusa. She may not be the heaviest artist in Brazil, but she made a song that really reminds you of Black Sabbath and then Black Sabbath. Later they released the song Black Sabbath, which you just heard.
So now let's listen to this song, and after that we'll go to Motorhead.
Well guys, we just listened to the metal from the 70s, now we're going to the 80s. We're going to see all kinds of things, we're going to see it all. Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, thrash metal, death metal, heavy metal, classic doom metal. The 80s was really the time when metal got big, glam metal, poser metal, hair metal. Let's go, let's dive right into this.
The good thing about having him here is that he showed me a lot. Chronologically, what did each thing become? How did each musician influence another musician? And what made each metal niche? What dissipated and became what was more original? What was inspired by that man? He's a true living encyclopedia of metal. It's impressive how much Ian knows about the subject. He is, literally,
the metal guy.
Well, we got here at the gym. I'm going to listen to songs that he recommended here. While I'm working out, I'm going to give him a top workout. Oh.
Bro, you said top? No, hold on. There's only one adjective, brutal. The workout is brutal, bro. We only have one adjective, which is metal, you know. And all the other adjectives, I don't even want to know about them, you know.
Alright, I'm going to do a brutal workout.
Those poser adjectives, you know, it's just brutal if it's another adjective. I don't even want to take part in this activity with brutal music.
Because it's already starting to get into a more brutal style. There. Now it's going to be Sepultura from what I see here, and then he keeps sending me, Sepultura.
It's the lightest we're going to listen to.
Seriously?
I started liking extreme metal because of the gym, you know? There are several factors that influenced me, but one of the main reasons that kept me into extreme metal is the gym. Because I believe in music. Getting in sync with the activities, like if you're really calm, then you go listen to some extreme metal and sometimes it just doesn't match. If you're pumped up during your workout, it matches perfectly, you know, that's the time for it, you know.
Alright, now, the workout is almost over here. And what did we listen to here? Pantera. We listened to Pantera, Machine Head.
Sepultura, right? The groove metal bands. We also listened to Falso Commando by Santa Morte.
National bands, and we got a little out of chronological order of time. Also,
I picked music that I like to listen to when I train, you know, which are some brutal songs. We also listened to Worst from the national bands. I think that's it.
Really good, by the way, the national bands. It's really cool. And what are we going to listen to now?
Now we're going to listen to Demolisher.
Which she said gets even more brutal, yeah.
The most brutal song of 2021, Bye Bye.
The songs he picked out for us to practice, I already feel like I've reached a point where I've discovered like the dividing line between what I like and what I don't like. Yeah, I had never come to that conclusion before, right? What I like about rock and what I don't like about rock. And I was able to notice those characteristics better, because he kept changing things gradually until I noticed something that bothered me. And I came to the conclusion that I don't like too much noise pollution, that I like being able to hear each instrument individually. So, when the sound pollution in the music is too much and you can't identify each instrument on its own, that bothers me and I don't like it as much.
Now we're going to take a look at the new wave of British heavy metal, right? One of the subgenres that help define what heavy metal is, what classic heavy metal is. Because heavy metal is a style, yes, it's not just rock, and hard rock is a separate style. And I think it's cool to explain a bit of the context. Second, in the mid-70s in England, there was a major economic crisis that neither the Labour Party nor the Party Conservative nor the Conservative Party were able to contain. A huge unemployment crisis, a deindustrialization. So people needed alternatives to make money, and one of the alternatives people were looking for was through music. But not everyone liked the kind of music that played in the 70s and 80s. Not everyone was into the punk that was going on. Some people liked bands like Black Sabbath, Motorhead, and wanted to do something along those lines. And then you have an explosion of British heavy metal bands that go after a new kind of heavy metal that reminds you of the early Black Sabbath. With Dio, it reminds you of Judas Priest, and then you. There will be the most famous bands from this movement, the ones I can remember off the top of my head, Saxon, and especially Iron Maiden.
So now we're listening to Venom, right?
That one? It shows up on some new wave of rhythm and heavy metal lists, but it's considered the forerunner of extreme metal.
It's also starting to get extreme, Manoseo. It's reached a brutal level. Man, no, look at this cover. Where are you taking me?
Yes, so I'm showing you how thrash metal kept getting more and more extreme each time.
Sepultura.
Thrash metal at that time was...
He went through 2 categories already.
Sepultura is everything, man. Sepultura, really, no, seriously, you don't get it? That's why I'm sad about the end. Sepultura is very influential in metal, you know? They helped start death metal by playing a more extreme thrash metal that influenced the genre. Then Max Cavalera, he has a song with Corey Taylor, you know?
But what I realized that I liked, something I had never really stopped to listen to deeply, was doom metal, which is a bit slower, with a really heavy beat. But I thought it was really cool, man. I really liked it. It was the complete opposite of what I thought of.
So we listen to a lot of thrash metal and glam metal now, right? The two opposite genres from the 80s, right? Thrash metal was trying to be heavier, faster, louder, less melodic, while glam metal was getting more and more melodic. More cheesy, more commercial, more pop, curlier hair, the guys trying to look hotter. And the guys in Norway were like, okay, you think you're brutal, right? You guys from death metal are really making a kind of metal that sonically isn't that poser metal hair pop stuff, you know? You're really not making cheesy stuff, you're not lost in thrash metal, right? But man, aren't you guys brutal? Man, in interviews you guys are like talking about society, I don't know what. That's just a way to shock that this is against conservatism. Hey man, we're really brutal, you know, this thing here, we kill people, you know. We burn churches that were built on top of our Nordic temples, you know, we're from our pagan temples. We're real Satanists, we're not like, oh Satan just to shock people, no, what the hell man. And those guys were on that vibe, the guys from Norway, and they were like, man, they claim to be Nazis, like man. The thing was on a whole other level of inaccessibility. The guys were like, man, you record death metal with good quality, you know, how come, you know. The guys would come to the studio and ask, man, give me your worst microphone, you know. They wanted to make it as inaccessible as possible, you know, like anti-music, and that's how Mayhem came about. Well, basically what really draws attention to Mayhem is that they had a band, alright? At one point, they had a vocalist named Dead who never actually recorded anything with Mayhem. Everything you hear from Mayhem isn't from Dead, only live performances. There are one or two things, but this guy killed himself. Then, the guitarist, who was the mastermind behind the whole black metal image, Euronymous, went there and took a picture. And then he managed to release an album, a bootleg, right? Because the album isn't official. From Mayhem, and the cover is Dead, who killed himself, is the vocalist. Ironically, Dead, the Dead.
It's a real photo.
It's a real photo of Dead, and it's right here on the back. I don't recommend looking it up, right? It's literally gore. So, this same guy who took this photo and put it on the album cover was murdered by the bassist, kind of the band's bassist. He was more like filling in a spot, who was Varg Vikernes, creator of Burzum, who was arrested because of this, spent his life in prison, recorded Burzum albums, a synthesizer in prison. And then, after he got out, he unfortunately became the biggest promoter of racist or even Nazi ideas on the internet. I even have a video on my channel scientifically refuting Varg's ideas. And there are other black metal bands that killed people. The guy from Emperor killed someone too.
Why?
For no reason. Faust, their drummer, said he just wanted to see what it was like to kill someone. And they burned the churches together. It wasn't just the members of Mayhem. Varg, like I said, he was more from Burzum, which was his solo project, than from Mayhem. In Mayhem, he only did one or two things there.
Man, we spent the whole day. It was really cool to have this introduction to metal, with the history and everything, how everything started to go off track, and the story of each band, and why this, why that. And then it was time for Ian to leave, right? And there was still a lot missing, right? Because we were in 2000 and something we were evolving gradually, right? The chronological history of it, and we stopped at 2000 and something, like we were starting to get to nu metal, right? Which is the branch that I think is the shortest in metal. Yeah, and there's power metal too, thanks to RPGs, it's really good.
Alright, we're wrapping up for today, but I'll continue later.
We focused more on him showing me things I don't know, right? Because, like, I have him here to show me a bunch of new things and tell me the story of how everything happened. So, tomorrow I'm going, like, he left a bunch of tabs open on YouTube for me to watch things I don't know yet. But tomorrow I can use the rest of the time to listen to what I like, right? Like, from the metal I already know, but I got a pretty good idea. Man, thank you so much.
We're in this together.
For those who don't know him, give us your band's information, your band's contacts.
The Metal Guy.
Band The Metal Guy YouTube.
The Metal Guy Instagram, The Metal Guy, The Guy, The Metal Guy, the...
I had a pretty complete experience on this 24-hour day listening to metal, both with new bands and with new knowledge about bands I already knew. It was a bit shocking too, regarding information about some bands, really brutal. Brutal is really the best adjective. Well, that's it. If you liked this video, leave a comment here. What's your favorite metal band? Comment. Which band do you think was missing from the list? For me to listen to that you think I would like, and leave a like to help out. My work will really make a big difference, honestly, and until the next experience. And while we're doing the workout, brutal, thank you so much.
And now I'm going to rest from so much metal. I'm going to a metal concert.
Wow, and I'm not kidding, it's true? Hey, Ian, controversial question. Metallica or Megadeth?
I'm not starting this controversy for you to consider.
Why?
Ah man, it's just that it's going to cause trouble. Metallica is way better, right? Or am I wrong?
If you don't want to talk, that's fine.
Man, it's like, what do you mean? I think Metallica's vocals are cooler, and I think Megadeth's solos and the more progressive parts and albums from Megadeth are cooler. Like, instrumentally I prefer Megadeth, but man, I don't know, there's something about Metallica. I don't know if it's because it's one of the first metal bands I liked, so I end up liking their songs more in general, you know?